Hey everyone, this is Dr. Megan,
And this is Joe Smith.
and we're here for our monthly recording of the Do Better podcast. Unfortunately, we have lost our ability to go live on Facebook. It's never have not been able to figure out how to fix that. So, when folks join us live from the Do Better Collective, we'll have some interaction there, but otherwise, it's just Joe and I.
And you know what, Megan? Right now, I am such on a summer break right now. I feel like I should be just at the beach and relaxing and soaking up that sun.
Yeah. I know it's June. We made it to June. I'm so
Yeah.
excited about that. This year is like flying by, but also not flying by at the same time.
Yes, and it's like there's things around the horizon that's coming up that's soon, and it's like, oh my God, where did the time go?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I know
but yeah,
people keep asking me about like my plans for the rest of the year, and I'm like traveling like crazy. I this made the mistake that I tend to make where I was like, I had such openings and I was like, oh, I'll be good. And then things kept coming up that I like couldn't say no to because it's like stuff I've either done in the past or have been wanting to do. And like my schedule was open. So now it turns out it's like I just got back on Tuesday, the 24th that morning, or no, when was that Wednesday, the 25th in the morning. We were gone for like 3 weeks in China and Vietnam. And I'm back for like a week and then I travel. And that's essentially my schedule for the rest of the year is like I'm gone for like a week or two. I'm back for a week, gone, back, gone, back. So by the time 2026 gets here, I'm going to be like a zombie probably. But they're all things I really want to do. And it was hard to say no to them.
I mean, yeah, traveling to Vietnam and China like that. I mean, I wouldn't say no to you to that. Like, how can you? And then be able to spread, you know, our knowledge to the rest of the world. That's great,
Yeah.
as a field. So,
Yeah. It was pretty interesting. One of the things that I thought was really fascinating for the training that we did, it was on natural environment teaching, but people were allowed to like ask questions throughout the training. And almost every single question that came up, we had a parent session and then also like with mostly providers. Almost every single question that came up was around the underlying like reason why the issue was existing was the child. I was like, this kid, it sounds like they haven't learned emotional regulation skills yet. And they like the idea of like psychological flexibility. So it was wild because there were like 10 or 15 questions, and every single question I was like, I think our next training needs to be on emotional regulation and like rule governed behavior because every single one of the issues, like these people are trying so hard to implement what we're teaching them, but when it comes down to it, they're going to struggle because and that's what I keep talking about in my trainings too is this foundational idea that we have to start with connected relationships and emotional regulation. Like if we don't have those two things, it doesn't really matter what else we're teaching you. It's going to be really difficult to be as successful as possible with those two things. So and but what we also noticed was like culturally we were at the I don't know, we were at like some park or something and a kid was walking and fell down and started crying. And the parents were like just like walked away and like completely ignored the child. And that's what like the folks who I work with tell me as well is like there's, as much as I complain about it in the States that people aren't allowed to have emotions and like we're not teaching our kids to like navigate and work through difficulties. It's like prevalent in a lot of cultures. So I saw that there as well. So it's like, how do we help people understand that, this is important when the culture, the overriding culture doesn't think it's important either. Everyone's just like pushing their emotions down all the time, which, I think one of the things that people don't realize is like when that's what's surrounding you, if on your own, the like processes that are supposed to take place to teach you how to self-regulate are happening, it's not as big of a deal. Although there's still things we end up having to learn as adults. But if those processes aren't occurring, which there's a lot of research to show don't happen, especially for autistic children, then it just interferes with so much stuff. So like helping people to understand that like actually if you want your child to learn academics or language and conversation and all of these other things, you have to start valuing this relationship and emotional regulation stuff first.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah. And I can tell you just based on previous experience, working with families who come from different cultures, it's amazing and shocking to hear like how almost far behind their culture is with like just helping out the child handle emotions and just their cultural values is just so like wow. I can't believe that is still happening here in the United States in 2025.
Yeah.
It's like I thought like we were bad, but like there's other cultures that are so far behind um what is now known like no, this is the a better way of working together as human beings even, you
Yeah.
know, working together. And it's like why aren't we moving that way? Like why are we still stuck?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because a lot of the cultures, especially when there's still like a really high level of connectedness with their history, like what the indigenous culture is still alive and thriving. So like in China, especially, I mean, it's a civilization that's existed for thousands of years,
Yeah.
albeit there's been some changes here and there, but for the most part, it's like very much. And they were telling us that there's like, I think it was like 98 different indigenous groups there that have like recognition or whatever, but there's some discrepancy about the motives for that, but I'm not going to talk about that because that'll get too political. Um, but um, but looking at like that or like other cultures I've been to where even though we might not be talking about it with the same language, there are things if I were able to sit down and just observe the culture, I would see that there are things happening where at least children are being exposed to various ways of like co-regulation and self-regulation that like we don't necessarily have here because we don't have connection to like that type of culture. And so there's like pieces that are so much more advanced that we don't have any sort of connection to in terms of like how we notice our bodies and like take care of our bodies with nutrition and like how we have to use supplements in the States, but like diet and things like that in a lot of places, if they're still following like the herbal medicine and things like that were in place for like thousands of years, it's almost more advanced. But then there's other parts where, again, just because like traditions being passed down and things like that and not um maybe necessarily being open to learning what like progression has been made from a scientific understanding, things might be different or potentially behind. I would love to see more research because I think there's so much that we could learn from understanding indigenous cultures. And I know like there's a lot of BCBAs who have more of an indigenous background, like Dr. Mari Serta. They talk about, how a lot of these things that we bring up, it's like these are things like if you look in my family history that I grew up with as an indigenous person. I just wish there was like more collaboration and connection of, these are things we've seen for so long can like help the human experience. And now in the research, we're seeing these other things can help the human experience and like, let's bring it all together. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to happen.
Interesting. So, like, as a field, how can we do better with, like, working with clients who have like these different backgrounds that compete with like what we know scientifically is proven effective and the best course for our client?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is being open and curious, and really understanding what the client's values are and what's important to them and like what their traditions are and not like judging that or putting any sort of negativity on that. And then building, of course, that strong rapport with the family so that those sometimes difficult discussions could be had of like, I understand these are the things, that are important and this is part of your tradition. here's what we're seeing in our data and like the research, where can we like meet together? What can we do that would be still feel good for you, but line up with what we know could be more effective for your child. I think having the discussions around showing families like this is what you value and the research is showing this is how we get there, because a lot of times what people value, they have their ideas of how you're supposed to get there based on just, again, things passed down, and behavior analysts do that too. They're not necessarily on top of the research either with that, but look really closely looking at, okay, you want your child to be more interactive and more academic. Well, how do we get there? We need active engagement. We need emotional regulation. Like these are the skills we need. This is what the research is showing. And I think the more we can help people, whether it's behavior analysts or parents, understand that the things that are important to them are achieved by these certain strategies, but we just put it out there. We're not saying you have to do it this way, but we're telling you like this is a route that can get us there, and like see if we can build to that path.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that, that idea of like, you know, looking into what the parents value and like, hey, this is what you value. Let's look at the science and see like how can we mold the two together.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is probably the best way to collaborate and get to a point where, okay, this is what's best for this individual. Let's combine our two sides and find a middle ground so we can work together. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I've been thinking about lately. I know we didn't really have a topic for today. We were just going to kind of check in on stuff. For July, I'm hoping that we're going to have Jared on with us. I need to follow up and confirm with him, but he is going to be doing a presentation for us in August on kind extinction. He is really obsessed with kind extinction, but what I'm really excited about is he's not just going to be talking about what kind extinction is, because anyone can get the article and like read it and understand what it is. But he has some training outside of behavior analysis, but in related field on like coaching and visualization. So he's going to be doing examples of how you can sort of become more fluent and effective with strategies, whether it's kind extinction or anything else, by practicing visualization exercises. So I'm really excited for him to join us, hopefully in July, and then to have that webinar with him in August. Have you seen anything about kind extinction or like the research on separately, the research on visualization?
I seen an article. It's in my to read pile on climate extinction. I just haven't got a chance to
Well,
do
maybe
that.
this will motivate you because you'll want to have it read for July podcast.
Maybe we should have a list of like maybe the top 5 articles to read before August.
Yeah,
I like that. And
I like
then,
that idea.
yeah. And, we can check in with each other next month to make sure that we're meeting that. Or, well, I'm meeting that.
Well, I would say the kind extinction is definitely one of them. I'm doing a webinar in July on AI and this iterative prompting process. So one of the things I'm worried about with AI is people just putting in their question and then like taking that answer and running with it and not being like critical and analytical with it. So I came up with this process that's like more of like a back and forth dance. That's what it's called, the dance method, where you're asking your initial question, you're analyzing it and like looking at what, kind of questions you need to ask back, and you kind of go back and forth before you take your final answer and create something. But one of the articles we're going to be talking about is the Cox and I think it's Cox and Jennings ethics in AI. Have you seen that one yet?
N- yes, I have. I have seen that one. I know I just got another suggestion. Let me see. Let me bring it up real quick because it's right on along the lines of AI, which also I know CASP will be releasing their AI guidelines here in by July, I believe. Um, so that should be interesting to see what the guidelines are.
Yeah.
Uh, the here we go. The article that I have here is Frontiers of Innovation, Ethical Challenges of Artificial Intelligence and Startups,
Nice.
which
Who is
yeah,
that by?
that one is by this is outside of our field. This is I can't even say his name, so excuse me if I um uh mess up the name, but it's by Claude Calisti. And this was published in the, let me bring it up. This was published in the Ponzan University of Economics and Business.
Okay.
Um, yep. So I want to read this because this was sent to me as well by David Cox. So I
Okay.
wanted to read it.
Nice.
So,
Well, send that to me and we'll add that to our list too.
all right, I love this. I love article reading. And you know what? It's summertime. We should be able to like find time to like read while we're at the beach or, read at like when we're stuck inside because the heat wave is like 1,000 degrees outside and it's not comfortable being outside at all.
Yeah.
So
Well, so we have two more to reach the five. I'm sure I have plenty, but maybe we can have folks who are listening suggest a couple articles to us as well.
I love that. Maybe we can go out there to Facebook, YouTube universe and see what articles that they can recommend.
Yeah. I love
So,
it.
I mean, I have a stack. I just keep on having a stack of like articles I want to read, and it's tough to keep up. Not gonna lie, it's tough to keep up with all the articles I want to read.
Yeah. I
But
know I
that's
have the same. I have the like, want to read folder. And what tends to happen is when I make the folder and then it's not until I actually like if I'm writing a plan or I'm working on a training and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I saved that article. Let me go finally read it." And then I get like go down a rabbit hole because then I cite the article forward because by the time I actually read it, sometimes it's like 2 or 3 years after I saved it. And I'm like, okay, did anyone else, publish new research on this? Let me find out. But anyway, so that's cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the CASP guidelines. That'll be interesting to see.
yeah, I'm interested to see um what our hard work has the final product of our hard work and then to really see how the masses feel about the guidelines.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting. I'm excited for them to come out. I know it's been something that's been a process for a long time.
Yeah.
So and I'm starting to see more and more guidelines come out with AI and also just more research articles of AI as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely something that's been on my to read list.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, as I mentioned to you before we started today, I came back with like the full lovely jet lag and then got sick for a few days. So I am still a little bit out of it today. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we close out?
No, I think we made it. We made it to June 30th, the last day of the month.
Yay.
We made it that we are
Halfway through the year.
halfway through the year, 6 episodes. So I think this is a great point to just, say bye to our listeners.
Yes, awesome. All right. Well, hopefully, like I said, in July, we'll have Jared on and then we will continue forward with our discussions. And I think you had hopefully some ideas for people to interview. Maybe we can get someone from CASP to come on and talk about their guidelines. That would be fun.
I would
And we'll see if anyone had suggestions for topics. Feel free to let us know as well.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Go forth and do better.